Part 1. Ever met someone who just doesn't do drama? That's always been me, Jonathan Archer. Emotions? My dad, Austin Archer, called them weaknesses. He was a tough, silent man who clawed his way up and built a company from nothing. Growing up under his roof, I learned to keep feelings buried deep, whether I liked it or not. Even when I swore I'd never be him, I couldn't escape the habits I inherited. It's strange. If you'd asked me 10 years ago whether I believed in fate, I'd have laughed it off. Yet standing at the edge of everything I thought was stable, I can't help but wonder if my old man saw all of this coming. Scarlett and I met in our early 20s, when life still felt open and new. She was the kind of woman who made every day brighter. Marrying her felt like winning something I never deserved. We had a daughter, Willow, sharp, passionate, and so much her mother's child. I poured myself into being a good husband and father, throwing time and energy into family life. But I could never fully shake off my father's influence. Sometimes I heard his voice in my own, felt his cold logic in the way I made decisions. 25 years went by. That's thousands of breakfasts, arguments, and quiet evenings. The small moments you stack together and call a life. I never realized how quickly that could all go up in smoke. One minute you think you're steady. The next, you're dangling over the edge. It started out just like any other day. August 27th, hot enough to melt the pavement. The office was quiet. I wrapped up my meetings and left early to surprise Scarlett. Our 25th wedding anniversary was coming up on September 1st, and I was already dreaming up a getaway. I had no idea I was about to walk into a scene that would split my world open. When I stepped into the kitchen, Scarlett was standing by the counter, Willow at the table. They looked tense, like they'd been practicing what to say. I dropped my briefcase, greeted them, and asked what was going on. Scarlett motioned for me to sit down. "Jonathan, can you take a seat?" she asked. Willow watched me closely. "Dad, we need to talk." I sat, elbows on the table, and tried to keep my voice even. "All right, I'm listening." Scarlett drew in a slow breath. "Jonathan, we've almost made it to 25 years. I need something different." Her tone was careful, but the words hit like a slap. "Different how?" I asked. Willow cut in, eager. "Mom wants to try an open marriage. I think it's a great idea. This is just what couples do now. It's about trust." The certainty in her voice caught me off guard. "So, everyone's just doing this now?" I asked, feeling something tighten in my chest. Willow nodded confidently. "Yeah, Dad, it's not just about being together. If you really love someone, you let them be free." There was a burn in my stomach. Anger, maybe, but I kept it hidden. I turned to Scarlett. "Is that really what you want?" She hesitated, eyes darting away. "It's not that I'm miserable. I'm just tired of the same old routine. I want to feel alive again." She said it like ordering dessert instead of the main course. For a second, I thought about getting up and walking out. Instead, I tapped my fingers on the table, steadying myself with the old Army Ranger rhythm. Count, breathe, don't let them see you sweat. "So, your plan is to start seeing other people, and I'm just supposed to wave as you head out?" Willow scoffed. "Dad, you can date too. Nobody's stopping you. You'll just have to figure out the apps." They laughed like I was the punchline. I clenched my hands, forcing calm. "Is there someone already?" I asked Scarlett. She paused, then said, James Smith. He owns that restaurant on Avenue Street." Willow beamed. "Mom, great choice. He's gorgeous." Of course it was James. I'd done plenty of business with him. Now, apparently, he was after my wife. "So you're okay with this?" I asked Willow. She grinned. "Don't be such a dinosaur, Dad." Without another word, I stood and walked to the sink. Silence thickened. "Scarlett," I said, "you know this isn't a small thing." She nodded, jaw set. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied. I turned off the water. "All right, I'll go along with it." They stared, surprised. Willow almost looked triumphant. "You'll really agree to an open marriage?" she asked. "Yes, but only if I set the ground rules." Willow bristled. "There can't be conditions, Dad. That's controlling." I shook my head. "This house is mine. Prenup or not. You want your arrangement, you do it by my terms. Or you find another place to live." Scarlett's face changed, nervous now. Willow tried to argue, but Scarlett silenced her. "He's right. We signed a prenup. The house belongs to Jonathan." Willow wilted a little. "You're not going to kick us out, are you?" she asked. I didn't answer. I just left them sitting with the possibility. That night, I stood in the hallway, listening, old instincts. Willow whispered, "He'd never throw you out. You're the love of his life." Scarlett's voice was quiet. "You don't really know your father. He can be ruthless when it counts." Part 2. "You know he's ex-Army Ranger, right?" The words floated from the kitchen, half-whispered, as if secrets could protect them. "Do you really know what he did over there?" Willow's reply cut through, sharp with youthful bravado. "I've heard enough, Mom. Trust me, he's just a grumpy old man. He'll bluster, maybe threaten, but that's all." Overhearing them, I realized how little my own family understood about the things war leaves behind. Afghanistan had carved out something cold inside me, something I tried to drown under years of business casual and polite small talk. That old part of me, the one built for survival, was quietly waking up. I retreated upstairs, letting the thick air of the house stew. If you push a man with nothing left to lose, you'd better brace yourself. The next morning, I didn't waste time. I scheduled a meeting with Ron Jeremy, my attorney since college days. His name was a running joke, but his mind was lethal in a boardroom or courtroom. I trusted him with secrets I wouldn't share with anyone else. When I told him I wanted a post-nup that would box Scarlett in, Ron didn't flinch. "Why not just file for divorce?" he asked. "Too easy," I replied. "I want them to feel the fallout, to see what it's like when you treat marriage as a revolving door." He grinned, enjoying the chess game. "You're more ruthless than your dad ever was." "So what's the play?" I spelled out every detail. Property rights spelled in granite, no spousal support if she walked, airtight rules on outside partners, and a full stop on anyone setting foot in my house unless I approved. Ron looked over the document, low whistle escaping. "You're aiming for checkmate, John." All I could think was, I'm just laying out the boundaries they claim they want. 2 days later, we all crowded into Ron's office. Scarlett showed up with her new lawyer, a sharp-looking woman named Leah, whose expression only got tighter the longer she read. When Leah reached the clause about alimony and property, she slapped the document on the table. "This says that if Scarlett files for divorce during the open marriage, she gets nothing. No support, no claim on the house, no business assets, no partners in the home, ever. That includes James or anyone else." Scarlett's glare could have cut glass. "Jonathan, that's over the line." I stared back. "Why should I bankroll you running off with someone else? I'm just enforcing what we agreed to, in writing." Leah called it unorthodox, even unconscionable. Scarlett lifted her chin. "I'll sign it. He thinks this'll scare me, but I'm not backing down." Willow crossed her arms, bristling. "This is humiliating, Dad. You're disgusting." I met her stare. "Your mother wants freedom. She can pay her own way. You told me love isn't about money. She should manage just fine. And James won't let her pay a cent, right?" Scarlett signed, each letter pressed hard into the page. For a second, I almost respected her nerve, but it was like watching someone bet their life on a bluff. After that, I threw myself into work, deals, calls, mergers. But something had shifted. Beneath the professional mask, I felt a kind of clinical calculation take over. Scarlett wasted no time lining up her night out with James. Willow encouraged her, treating the whole thing like a game. At dinner, she'd needle me. "Hey Dad, maybe you should try Tinder. Even old guys score a match now and then." I took it in stride, letting them think I was out of my league. When Scarlett's big date rolled around, I made a move of my own. If she wanted James, I'd see if his daughter, Maria, might like some company. She was 22, Willow's age, and nobody's fool. Smart, capable, perfectly aware of her father's reputation. We chatted a few times at events. When I invited her out to a charity gala, raising money for veterans, something I felt deeply, she surprised me by saying yes. That evening, while Scarlett dined with James, I showed up with Maria at my side. The ballroom shimmered with candlelight, clinking glasses, and knowing glances. I introduced her to colleagues, watched her dive into debates on world markets and business strategy. She was sharp, poised, and didn't flinch under scrutiny. Some folks raised eyebrows. Others grinned, picking up on the symbolism. I wasn't there for gossip. I was making it clear I could play by their rules and win. By the next morning, the story had already hit home. I found Willow storming around the living room, fists balled tight. "You took James's daughter out? Are you insane?" I peeled off my jacket, not giving her the satisfaction of a reaction. "I brought a consenting adult to a fundraiser, that's all. Your mom spent last night with James in a hotel, right? Freedom goes both ways." Willow's glare could have melted steel. She's my age. You're sick. I met her eyes level. So it's okay when it's your mother and a man, but not me and Maria? Seems like a double standard. She started to retort, but the words died on her tongue. With a frustrated huff, she spun on her heel and disappeared upstairs. Scarlett never mentioned my evening with Maria. But when she walked out that morning, her face was pale and drawn, tension stiffening her shoulders. She forced a tight smile and left for errands, clearly unwilling to start another fight. The next real collision came a few days later, one weekend morning in the living room. Part 3. I was parked in my usual spot, an old leather armchair, thick with the scent of coffee and paperwork, skimming the latest market forecasts, when Scarlett stormed in, eyes raw from crying. Willow trailed after her, arms hugged tight to her chest, defensive and ready for battle. Scarlett planted herself in front of me, her voice hard and brittle. "I want to close the marriage," she snapped. "I'm done. You're humiliating me in front of everyone by parading James's daughter around. I never signed up for this." I barely glanced up. "Scarlett, this is exactly what you demanded. This is what open marriage means." She hurled a bundle of envelopes onto the coffee table, her hands shaking. "I'm finished, Jonathan. I can't handle my own daughter watching me lose my dignity. I can't stand seeing you with someone so much younger. This is over. Let's end it here." Willow nodded, her agreement written all over her face. "Mom's right. This was never the plan. You're making us look like fools." It took everything in me not to laugh at their outrage. "The plan," I repeated. "You thought you'd announce an affair. I'd sit quietly in the corner, swipe my credit card for your new lifestyle, and just watch? Did you honestly believe I'd just take it?" Scarlett's voice trembled, anger giving way to panic. "This wasn't supposed to be a war, Jonathan. I made a mistake. I don't even want James anymore. I just want things to go back to normal. Can't we do that? Pretend none of this happened?" I shifted, crossing my legs. "No, Scarlett. We're not closing anything." Confusion flickered in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I mean the post-nup is clear. This agreement stays unless both of us want out. I don't, so we keep it going." She stood rooted to the spot, voice shaking. "You're punishing me." I shrugged. "You're only reaping what you insisted on." Willow stepped up, face flushed. "Dad, please, she's changed her mind. Can't you be reasonable? Did you ever love her at all?" That question hit harder than I let on. I looked at Willow, the frustration heavy in my chest. "You think love is a 1A deal? Where was your mother's love when she set out to embarrass me, when she decided her happiness meant publicly humiliating me? Did either of you ever think about how this would feel for me?" Silence. For a long moment, neither had an answer. I pocketed my wallet and stood up. "I'm heading out." "Don't wait up. I've got a date." Scarlett's face caved in. Willow looked like she wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. I closed the door behind me, the slam echoing down the hall. 2 days later, Willow ambushed me in the hallway, just as I was heading for coffee. "Mom cries every night," she blurted. "She's miserable." I marched into the kitchen, unbothered. "Miserable because her own plan blew up. Are you upset for her, or because you have to watch it happen?" "Both," Willow fired back, blocking my way. "Dad, quit seeing Maria. Either close the marriage and act like a husband, or just divorce Mom, but stop torturing her." I brushed past, ignoring the anger flaring up. "You didn't mind the idea of me being the one torn apart, did you? Did it amuse you to watch your own father get humiliated, cheering your mother on?" Willow flinched, her voice small. "That's not fair. It was about her having a voice." "Save it," I said, my tone turning ice cold. "I'm finished paying for your drama. Speaking of money, what about that car lease? Who's paying to keep it going?" She looked at me, thrown by the shift. "You know I can't afford that, Dad." "Then figure it out," I said. "I'm done bailing you out. Same goes for your credit card debt and tuition. Find a job, or find someone else to bankroll you. Maybe James, maybe Mom's new boyfriends." Her face went pale. "Are you serious? You can't just cut me off. I'm your daughter." I set my coffee down, steady. "You chose sides. Now you live with it." She clenched her jaw, fighting tears. "So you're going to make me beg?" "Try working," I replied. "It builds character." Willow exploded, tears spilling down her face. "You're a monster." She ran off, slamming her door so hard the walls shook. Weeks crawled by. Her bills kept piling up, the car, her loans, no job in sight. She spent days glued to her phone, hoping I'd change my mind. Then the dam finally broke. I came home late from work and found Willow on the porch, red-eyed and furious. "They're taking my car," she hissed, thrusting a letter at me. You can't do this. I need that car. I can't take the bus like some loser. I sighed, unlocked the door. If your pride's too big for public transit, that's your problem. She followed, voice getting louder. You always said I'd be taken care of during college. You're really going to go back on your word? I glared. My only rule was you respect me. Instead, you and your mother turned this into a circus. So yes, I'm backing out. You don't like it? Move out. Find another solution. She trailed after me, desperate. I can't pay these bills, Dad. I have maybe $300 left. I headed for the living room. Ask your mother's lover. Maybe James will cut you a check or one of her new friends. I'm not your ATM anymore. Willow's jaw dropped. That's cruel. I gave her a cold smile. Just following the freedom you wanted. Isn't this what modern families do? She slapped the couch, furious. Why are you being so mean? Go ahead, tell him, came a brittle voice. Scarlett stood in the hallway, arms wrapped around herself, watching us both. Why punish us both, Jonathan? She asked. I looked straight at her. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just done rewarding betrayal. Scarlett's eyes drifted to Willow, who was trying not to cry. She softened, voice low. Will, honey, go upstairs. Let me talk to him alone. Willow glared at me one more time, then stormed past her mom and disappeared. Scarlett waited until Willow's footsteps faded, then turned to face me directly. Part 4. Jonathan, enough, Scarlett said, her voice barely holding steady. You've made your point. This whole open marriage, worst mistake of my life. But now you're just being cruel. Willow's still a kid. She didn't know what she was pushing me into. I shrugged, unbothered. If she was grown up enough to pressure you into an affair, she's grown up enough for consequences. Scarlett's fist balled up. If that's how you want to treat Willow, fine. But you and I, can we talk? Civilly, I mean. She took a breath. James is over, all right? He's not who I thought he was. He's already ghosted, canceled every date. I'm humiliated. Is that enough? Can we please end this now? How, Scarlett? I asked, arms folded. Close the marriage, she said, desperate. Let's at least try for some new normal. No more random dates, no more games. I'll sign anything. My jaw tightened. You made this request 2 weeks ago. My answer hasn't changed. Tears pooled in her eyes. Because I can't take this anymore. Watching you with Maria, it's torture. She's our daughter's age, Jonathan. Her voice cracked. I just want to be a couple again, even if it's not perfect. I held her gaze, cold. You kicked this door open. You live with it now. Her shoulders dropped. She collapsed on the couch, face in her hands. You're hateful, she whispered. Where's the man I married? He died the day you asked for an open marriage, I said, and walked away. A month dragged by. Willow, sick of my refusal to fund her life, moved out to crash with friends. Scarlett, left behind, sank further. She wandered the house in pajamas, a ghost searching for something she'd never find. Sometimes I'd see her digging through photo albums, silent tears sliding down her face. One gray afternoon, she found me out back. Her eyes were red and desperate. Jonathan, I need to tell you something, she whispered. I've been going to the doctor. I'm not well. I looked at her, really seeing the weight loss for the first time. Doctors? I echoed. She nodded, shaky. I have an STD. From James. I didn't think. Well, it happened. I'm on medication. It's treatable, but humiliating. I hope you're happy. You got your revenge. Somewhere in me, pity flickered, but I kept my tone flat. I'm not happy, Scarlett. This is just the fallout from choices you made. You wanted an open marriage, I agreed, and you dove in head first. A tear slipped down her cheek. You hate me, she said. Just be safe with Maria, Jonathan. STDs are serious. I looked at the yard. Maria's not a fling. But thanks for your concern. She hugged herself. You're a monster. I said nothing. She turned and left, leaving me to the wind and dying light. I stayed outside, numb, thinking about everything we'd lost and everything she brought on herself. 3 weeks later, the peace shattered again. Willow stormed in, slamming the door so hard the pictures rattled. I was in the kitchen, barely glancing up as she burst in. I have overdue loans. Debt collectors keep calling. You have to pay. I didn't look at her. I don't have to do anything, Willow. I told you I'm done being your ATM. She looked around, panicked. Mom's broke. She can't help. James is gone. What am I supposed to do? I set my phone down, steady. You're an adult. Figure it out. She snarled, voice quivering. You'd let your own daughter get buried by debt? Destroy my credit because you're bitter. I shook my head. You made these choices. You and your mother mocked me, called me a relic. This relic doesn't sponsor you anymore. She stepped closer, fist clenched, tears brimming. Don't push me, Willow, I warned. You want help? Ask your mother's boyfriend, or get a real job. Try your friends for a loan. Fine, she spat, voice shaking. When you're old, don't expect me to help. I'll remember this. I shrugged. I'll handle my own retirement. She glared, then ran out, slamming the door behind her. After that, heartbreak hung heavy. Scarlett got thinner and paler, drifting around the house, barely eating. She rarely left, and when she did, it was just to disappear and come back a shadow. Sometimes she'd ask, "Can we talk?" Or, "Let me cook dinner so we can discuss things." I ignored her every time. My attention was elsewhere now. Maria, who'd started as defiance, became something deeper. She was ambitious, modeling, building her own brand. We laughed at the twisted irony. Her dad with my wife, now us together, making something real out of the wreckage. With her, I finally felt some peace, even if the rest of my world was still burning. Part 5. There were things I'd never shared with Scarlett, not in years. With Maria, it was different. She was open and direct. One evening, she asked about Afghanistan, and for the first time in decades, I talked about what I'd done there and what it had done to me. Maria listened, never judging, never using my past against me. One night, as we sat with wine in her apartment, she broke the silence. I'm pregnant. The world seemed to freeze. How far along? I managed, my heart hammering. About 8 weeks, she said softly, searching my face. It's yours. I want to keep it. A mix of shock, guilt, and a flicker of happiness twisted through me. You're sure? She nodded. I steady. Yes. I didn't plan it, but I'm ready. I hope you're too. I tried to hold on to the calm my father once showed, but inside I knew I wanted this. I wanted a chance to do fatherhood differently, free from the bitterness that had poisoned my old life. All right, I said finally, we'll figure it out. Maria looked relieved, tears in her smile. Thank you. I know it's complicated, but I don't want to run. This was never about getting back at my dad. She mentioned James, which made my shoulders tense, but I let it pass. I just held her close and promised we'd focus on us. When I went home, Scarlett was in the living room, blankly watching TV. She muted the show as I passed. Where were you? She asked, voice empty. With Maria, I said, heading upstairs. Jonathan, she called after me. I'm sorry for all of it. Can we at least talk about next steps? Can we close this marriage or get divorced? I can't live in limbo. I stopped on the stairs. If we divorce, you walk away with nothing. She nodded, resigned. Maybe that's better than this. She looked older than I'd ever seen her, eyes ringed, hair faded, cheeks sunken. For a second, I remembered the Scarlett I'd married, and a sharp sadness cut through me, but it was brief. We'll talk, I said, and went to bed. 2 months later, Maria gave birth early. Our son, Kevin, was small but healthy. That new life swept away my focus on the past. I started skipping days at the office, letting managers handle things. I was there for Maria and the baby. Soon after, I proposed. Maria agreed to a quiet wedding after I insisted on a prenup. Some part of me laughed, becoming my father. But another part knew he'd been right. Protect what matters. Scarlett called once, late at night. She sounded unwell, voice shaking. Jonathan, I think I made a mistake. I need you to come. I don't feel well. Please. I cut her off. Call your parents, Scarlett. Or call an ambulance. I have a newborn to care for. I'm not your savior anymore. Silence hung for a long beat. Then I heard her break down. I hate you, she sobbed, and hung up. That was our last real conversation. I filed for divorce weeks later, told Ron to make it fast and quiet. Scarlett signed without a fight, then disappeared, likely back to her family. I poured everything into Maria and Kevin. From Willow, I only heard rumors. She'd found a job flipping burgers at a fast food place. One afternoon, I saw her at a McDonald's, hustling between fryer and counter, hair tied back, face flushed but alive. I didn't speak. She looked better than before, maybe learning what it meant to support herself. I left with my lunch, proud in my own quiet way, but the gap between us was still wide. The years blurred past. Kevin grew, a bundle of laughter and wild ideas. Maria built her modeling career, and I kept my distance from the past. I never contacted Scarlett or Willow. Sometimes I heard through acquaintances that Willow had gotten a better job, was renting a place, chipping away at old debts. That was good. She was learning what she should have learned all along. I stayed out of it. Then, One Sunday morning, the phone rang. I was helping Kevin set up his art supplies. Maria was outside in the sunlight. The caller ID stopped me. Scarlett's father. We hadn't spoken since the divorce. "Jonathan," he said, his voice quiet. "Scarlett passed away last night." My heart clenched. How? I managed. She'd been living with us, but her health never really came back. The infection she got from James lingered. She was in and out of hospitals. Last night, she just didn't wake up. I stood, the phone cold in my grip, struggling for words. "I'm sorry for your loss," I said finally, though it wasn't enough. "Are you all right?" He exhaled, a weary sound. "We'll manage. I just thought you should know." I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. "Thank you." The call ended. I lowered the phone and watched Kevin color a paper airplane, Maria's voice drifting in through the open window. I thought about Scarlett, her final days, the pain, the regrets, the fights that couldn't be undone. My feelings were a knot. Pity, relief, regret, and a hard understanding that some things can't ever be fixed. Once you cross certain lines, there's no way back. I set the phone down, ruffled Kevin's hair. He looked up at me, all innocence. "Dad, can I show you something?" "Sure," I said, managing a small smile. "Show me." The end.